Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is another Upgrades and Deluxifications video. I'll be taking a look at a bunch of things, a few games, a few playmats and accessories, a campaign currently on GameFound, a game that will be on Kickstarter, a bunch of things. We'll go through them one at a time, but first, as usual, remind you that this particular video series is sponsored by Top Shelf Gamer. You can find a link down below, you can check them out. There'll be a little discount code in case you want to get any upgrades, accessories. They have amazing metal coins, they have amazing upgraded resources, they have inserts left, right, and center, and sleeves, and all these kinds of things. You can go ahead and get your hands on it. In fact, the insert from Lost Ruins of Arnak is something you can get on their site today. That you can check that out. We'll have a link down below, and reminder that all purchases made using that link and all that, those are commission purchases, so I do get a referral thing or whatnot. So check those out to support the show, Top Shelf Gamer, and all of that. And with that, let's go ahead and start off. And let's start off with the one that is actually. Let's start off with the one that's currently on GameFound over here. These are a bunch of playmats from Crafting Kingdoms. Crafting Kingdoms recently had a different they had a different product or whatever over on GameFound. They had playmats. They had a playmat and a board game bag, effectively. But this is something that they had on Kickstarter last year, and they brought it back to GameFound now. Or I don't know if I think maybe they had it just for Gloomhaven, and now they have the Gloomhaven and Frosthaven versions of these. But these are basically a variety of playmats. Let's move things out of the way so I can properly show you everything. These are double-sided playmats you can buy for Gloomhaven and Frosthaven that will give you, basically stuff over here. So you have monster stat sheets that will go over here. You have your monster ability cards. So you can lay these out, and yes, you can get more than one if you want to go ahead and, have more than 4 monsters, which doesn't happen that often when you're playing through Frosthaven, Gloomhaven, etc., but does happen, so not the end of the world to have 2 of these. But then you get over here, you can have your little monster attack modifier decks down here. So you have everything kind of stored on one little sheet that you can check out. Let's just put a little lengthwise so you can see everything. And then for those who want more of a Gloomhaven feel, we have the Gloomhaven look to it as well. So you have both options as far as how it's going to look on your table. And obviously if you get both, you can do 2 colors. I don't know why you'd want to. Stay thematic. Do either both Frosthaven, both Gloomhaven, or more practically speaking, one is going to cover most of your needs most of the time. And then, hey, you can throw the extra ones off to the side or do whatever with them. Now, we're far from done with this. There's a bunch of things you have over here in addition to these little coasters. Now, personally, this is more of a personal note. I don't really care for Neofiend coasters in general. I tend to like, well, I have a bunch of coasters, but Neofiend coasters never really did the job for me. Never really did the trick as far as feeling premium. They always feel... I find Neofiend coasters tend to feel almost like an extra. I guess maybe if the edges were stitched, and these are not the only Neofiend coasters I've seen, not by a long shot. Like I know Dice Tower has them as well. Maybe stitched edges would make it feel like a finished thing for me. As it is, I find Neofiend coasters kind of feel like something extra. Anyways, past that, we have this sheet over here. So we have these, and we have a few different playmat options over here. But this is going to be, your character mat, your discarded cards, your lost cards, all the various items you want to equip over here, your various potions, your specific spots that you have, as well as, your card pools, your loot, your attack modifiers, and then, of course, your active cards. This has everything you need all in one sheet. It's going to take up a lot of play area. Factor that in. You have little spots for your tokens over here. But compared to what a regular play area sheet, in general, when you get playmats for things, you have to be mindful of the fact that it will take up more space, and so it's going to be hard to use. So for example, over on Camp Co-op, we're playing through the entire Frosthaven. Don't expect to see these that frequently on. Maybe some things like the attack modifier stuff, maybe, but like these large sheets, they're too large to fit into the camera play area without, messing up with the rest of the shop. Now, depending on your board setup, depending if you're playing 2-player, 4-player, all the various ways and configurations, they're very cool, they're very awesome, but do take into account the additional play space stuff like this does take. And of course, like I mentioned already, everything over here is double-sided to give you that Frosthaven and that Gloomhaven look to double up as far as your needs. And, Jaws of the Lion is probably more Gloomhaven themed, but that's what we have over here. And again, let's go ahead and show you both of these over here so you can just see 2 different playmats, Frosthaven and Gloomhaven. Same basic setup, but, just minor differences as far as the color, tones, and palette. And we're not done yet because we have more of these over here. We have 2 more of these giant sheets. These are the same. Yes, they are the same. This over here is giving you, well, all of this, the same stuff you kind of had over here. So that same stuff is kind of doubled up over here. But this time, you have some additional things over here. We have your character sheet and notes, your XP dial tracker, and your battle goal and personal quest card. Now, this is giving you, again, just more, and again, double-sided as well for that, either look you want. And again, 2 mats over here. But same situation as before. This is cool. This is giving you a lot of fun things. It's also taking up a lot of play space. I mean, think about it this way. If you're playing a 2-player game, This is your board setup over here before you even get, like, this is a zoomed in shot over here. This is before you even get to any actual stuff on the table. This is going to take up a lot of space. Very cool for those large tables that have a ton of extra space. Not potentially as useful if you are running low on space. So these are very cool. I do think they're awesome. Also take into account your table space before you get them. Buy responsibly, all that. And in these series, these Deluxifications and Upgrade series, I tend to show you a lot of stuff that cost more money. And I'm totally fine with the fact that some of these things are very cool and cost money, but I also want to make sure they're the right fit for you, hence the whole cautionary aspect of space. Make sure before you buy these things that you measure, that you evaluate. They're very cool, but they're not that cool if you don't end up using them. Last month's episode as well was focusing on the Frosthaven Laser Ox wooden pieces. And again, same situation. Very, very cool, but make sure you have the table space for them. With that, let's go into an upgraded game. This is going to be Power Plants from KTBG. In general, their games have KTBG and Burnt Island Games have had their games show up in various videos in this Deluxification series, and that's because they put out very strongly deluxified games, very cool games that I think just look fantastic. So we have Power Plants over here. I'm not focusing on a pure unboxing, so I'm not going to heavily get into what the game is. We are going to show you some of the deluxe aspects of this game because this is the deluxe version of the game with all these fun little deluxe tiles. These are basically the upgraded version of what you would have otherwise are various cardboard tokens effectively you'd have instead, but these are significantly nicer as far as their general look and feel. And again, you can kind of see just how thick these all are in their little repositories over here, which also, by the way, makes it so much easier to assemble and deal with just on a general basis. That's what we have over here. We have these. We have the upgraded sprites over here. Are these the upgraded ones? Yes, these are the upgraded sprites, giving you the unique various aspects. And of course, we have the insert too. You can have these little cutesy little sprites with different shapes over here. They'll all go onto your various pods. And we have the gnome over there. I'm missing a color. What color am I missing? We have yellow, black, purple, blue. What am I missing? I'm missing a color here. Am I not missing a color? I feel like I am. Oh, gray. Here we go. I'm missing gray. There we go. So we have the different types of sprites over here. They'll be tossing down into the various zones for your area control puzzle as you play through the game. This Power Plants, a fun game. Definitely grew on me more and more the more I played it. You have tons of different abilities over here, just as far as the tons of different combinations you have of each sprite. Effectively, every tile has its ability, the way it operates, but you cannot play with different ability cards to give it even more abilities. And then we have all the various upgraded tokens as well. These are going to be your upgraded tokens as far as the various resources you have, the gems you're effectively earning, the points you're earning in the game, all in these, again, chonky little tiles. This is just basically, if you've played through Power Plants, there's two ways to get it. There's the retail edition, and then there's this one over here, which comes with all the extras, the insert, the various tiles, and it's just a more satisfying experience to play through it. Obviously, it costs more, which, you know, depends how often you're playing it. If you're playing this game once, twice a year, it may not be worth the upgrade. If you're playing this game, you know, on a regular basis, if you're enjoying what this brings to your table, then this is a nicer version. In general, for KTBG, for Burnt Island Games, I've said before about their games, if you are interested in this stuff, I generally recommend getting on Kickstarter. The extra cost is not that significant, and what you get is a significantly nicer game. Obviously, again, factor in what's worth to you, what's not worth to you, and all that as you go through it, but you do get a nicer, more premium experience. Although I need to go ahead and push this down, make this all fit in over here, and then toss this back here. That's Power Plants from KTBG, from Burnt Island, well, from KTBG, that affiliated with Burnt Island Games, or I don't know how you... They're the same ownership company, but two different brands. One for like heavier Euro games and whatnot, Euro/Ameritrash, and then one for you know, more family-friendly games that grow with you. Like these games, like this, by the way, more so than some of the other games, this is one I'm more inclined to play with adults when I'm looking for a lighter filler area control game that gives you enough bites. That is, bites, not an intentional pun. Gives you enough bite to be compelling while being lighter and not the same experience as diving into Blood Rage or whatnot. With that, let's go ahead and look at the next... what should we do now? Let's go ahead and take a look at the insert for Lost Ruins of Arnak. This, like I said already, you can go ahead and get your hands on over at Top Shelf Gamer. Well, it's basically a folded space insert, but they carry folded space inserts. But I'd say that this game in particular, Lost Ruins of Arnak, I actually bought a 3D printer, partially inspired by wanting to create an insert for this game that I saw, which is incredibly cool and a very good idea until I realized that 3D printers take a lot of effort and energy to be on top of, and I still have my 3D printer, and I still plan on diving into it one day when I have more time. Otherwise known as never. But maybe. We'll see. We'll try. But in the meantime, I did finally give up, and I got a folded space insert for Lost Ruins of Arnak, and yes, it does include the expansion, and no, it's not built for the upcoming expansion. There's an upcoming expansion for Lost Ruins of Arnak, a cooperative expansion with new characters and, well, co-op and things. Do I know more about it? Not yet. Will I know more about it? I certainly hope so. But this is the folded space insert. This, in general, folded space inserts, I'm a huge fan of. They are not my go-to insert as far as my personal preference. I like some of the wooden inserts you get in other games. In general, I find wooden inserts are very, very cool. Or even 3D, plastic 3D inserts, some of my favorite there, if you can actually, get them or do them yourself or all of that. But I do find folded space assemble incredibly quickly, assemble incredibly easy, and work and do the job. They tend to be my go-to when buying inserts if I can't find a pre-done 3D insert that works well. Because wooden inserts are great, but they require assembly, and they splinter, and they cause issues, and they're so good, but they take so much time. Like, assembling the Frosthaven insert was like an hour-long experience, but I know from people who assembled the Laserox Frosthaven insert that it was like a 5-hour experience, and that's 4 hours that could have been spent playing Frosthaven or assembling more folded space inserts. Both fantastic companies. Just you got to understand what your time limitations and constraints are. Anyways, with this insert over here, this insert comes in 2 sets. You do have to buy 2 of these, the base game and then the modification that works for hidden leaders as well. To that end over here, we have these tiles over here that we're going to pull out, and we have our, tile over here that goes on top of there, and then we have our various tiles under here. So if I pull these out over here, this is some of the overflow plus some of the new tokens, plus some of the additional, various zone 1 tiles or whatever that you have over there. And then underneath over here, we have all our special tiles from the expansion cards. And under here, we have some player things you can use for in-game or for additional storage if needed. But I'm not currently using those. Over here, we have some of the, extra tiles. These are just this combined with this are where you're going to have the location tiles. But then under here, we have all the guardians. Over here, we have the various player pieces, the various temple tiles. And again, the nice thing about this is no longer do I have to sit there and pull out 14 bags, because Lost Ruins of Arnak, for all I love it, has no insert solution. Not even like the attempt of one, which honestly I don't mind. If you're gonna put a bad insert in a game or no insert in a game, I don't know if I particularly care about the difference. But past that, we have our various tokens over here. Some of these I've shown in previous videos. These are upgraded tokens. Well, these are base game. These are upgraded compass tokens that I have over here. And underneath that, we should have upgraded coins as well. So if I pull this out over here, we have upgraded additional tokens. We have the 3 resource trays under here. You can see them all over here. Over here, we have the various arrowheads, as well as some of the base game tokens over there. And then, of course, we have our solo tokens that can simply be pulled out of the way. All these trays can be simply pulled out, plug and play as needed. Well, not plug and play. Most of these things are needed. The only plug and play is the solo stuff. But over here, everything just fits nicely in with the different trays, and there's no bagging or setting up on the table or pulling things back off the table. You have your containers, they go on the table, players take or play from those containers, and makes everything nice and simple. Over here we have our card system over here, which I need to pull out carefully because this apparently is a little light. But over here we have some of our basic cards. So we have our starting cards and our modification, and our fear card should be one of these piles, maybe this pile. One of these piles have the fear cards, plus the starting cards, plus the temple reward tracks, and then we have the various advisors, and we have artifacts on one side and items on the other on these 2 piles. And this can literally be set up onto your board, or you can take them out. That's up to you. But again, everything stores nicely in here, which makes for a significantly easier pulling out experience compared with dealing with the bags of the base game. I don't know what kind of Lost Ruins of Arnak player you are, but if you still have your stuff set up in bags like I did up until I got this insert, I love this game, but there is a degree of setup and dealing with things that is interesting. I think I could probably put these underneath here. No, there's this underneath here. Oh, interesting. I think I didn't even realize that I even misunderstood. Look at this. So this over here, there's a slight lip over here, and I misunderstood. I just didn't realize what that was for, but that's for this. So it lines up nicely. They are so good. They are sometimes so good at what they do. We're going to go ahead and put these down. These can probably go over here if that's the case. Oh, look at that. And the problem is these will have to be spread out a bit more, but this should work. It takes away a drop from the lid lift, but there's still a drop of lid lift over here. Let's see if we put this like this and that like that. Still a drop of lid lift, so you do have to be mindful of that. There's I don't know how well you can see it over here. Let's go ahead and show you. But there is a drop of lid lift in the game just because of how much stuff is stored in there with all the inserts, but it still stacks nicely on the shelf. I still have things on top of it on the shelf, and that is your Lost Ruins of Arnak, which brings us to Fractured Sky. I think we'll do Fractured Sky, and then we'll do this Infinity Map. And if you're like, what Infinity Map? Technically it's called Infinity Dungeon, but you either know about it and you think it's cool already, or you know about it and you think it's not cool, or you don't know about it and you probably will think it's cool. You may never use it, but that's a different story. But anyways, let's go ahead and show you this over here. We have Fractured Sky. This is from Ivy Games, Ivy Studio. This is the upcoming Kickstarter campaign from Ivy Games. They've done Moonrakers, they've done Mythic Mischief, and this is Fractured Sky. We're not doing a full unboxing, we're going to be doing a review later, but here you have your player aids player screens, I don't know why I said player aids, player screens that will be blocking your player board. But past that, we have all of this down here. Now, before I dive into this is a prototype, all components, rules, stuff, subject to change, but this is a Ivy Games prototype, which means even their prototypes are well done. But over here we have our personal player tray that you're going to be, layering things down. They have it's kind of a combination of an overlay and then a plastic tray that gives you what you need over there. This will make more sense if you're actually watching the game. But I want to show you some of the various things over here that this is in general, and we don't have one of the colors over there just for the record. But again, prototype will have all these things. But I'm not going to do a full unboxing and showcase of everything, but this is just, first of all, the tray is excellent to begin with. But part of what this game does, part of why I want to show it to you, is because of just the general premiumness of, well, a bunch of things. Let's show you some of these. So over here we have these tokens over here that are your individual player tokens that will be going down onto the board. Let's show you a section of the board. So if we show you a section of the board over here, this is just a small section of the board that you'll be dealing with. And the nice thing with the game, let's grab a blue ship over here. What's going to happen is you're going to have your own individual player trays. Let's try to make this all thematic in terms of actual colors as opposed to the way I'm doing it now. So if I take out a green tray, I take out the green ships, let's go ahead and grab the green ones. These are all mismatched as far as where they actually are. Let's go ahead and reassign them here, and here, and here, just reorganizing which tray each of these go to. But we've got the green ones over here. Let's put this purple ship back. Go back. There we go. Did it go? There we go. Okay, so we have our green things over here. Now what's going to happen is these are going to go into your player tray like so you can see them. Now you can either organize them nice and neatly from 1 to 10. The downside of that is this does have a degree of hiddenness to the game, which means sometimes if you do that, players can get a sense that, hey, you're going for your 1, you're going for your 10 or whatnot, as opposed to when you have this set up, and when you do it with the screen, that's also going to be set up. And again, prototype and all these things, so these are not exactly how everything's going to be, but also I want to show this to you without the screen first. Just imagine you're looking at this way. I have the screen all set up over here so that you can't see what's going on, but I'm going to take the screen down in a second so you can see what's going on. But over here, you just have your ship, you clip it onto something, and then from there you just go ahead and put it down onto the board. So effectively what you do is you have these little tokens, these magnetic tokens. Let's grab another ship. So we have another ship over here. We're going to go ahead and take it, snap it on, and then put it onto the board. So what happens is these numbers are being covered by your ship, and then when you reveal it later, you can see what number or what strength you put down on the board, but otherwise, they're just basically magnetic and they clip straight onto them. Now again, even these as is are still in the prototype phase. The magnet's going to be stronger in the final version, but it's a nice quality of life aspect where when you have everything behind your screen like so, you just reached in, you pick up the thingy, and you put it down the board. Everything's all there, it's locked in. There's no fiddling around, just grab your ship, grab the token, put it down. You only put down 3 ships a turn, which means you have to try to figure out what combination of tokens you're using. But that's going to be your strength aspect as far as the various numbering systems you have to play with as you go through this. And of course, there's this player tray in general, which just has, room for all your cubes. They'll be tracking the various resources you have, room for the various ships you're going to have, the various tokens you're going to have in these various areas over here. That'll be your, there's a word for it, your pieces or whatever, your I don't even know what the term, the various, I should take these out, these shouldn't go over here. Here, these guys, here they are. Sorry, I was trying to figure out, these pieces over here are going to be your various bases that are going down here. So you have towers, you have marketplaces, if I can find one. You have towers, marketplaces, and skiffs that will all go down into your bases. So here we got a marketplace, and then here we have a skiff. So those are all going to be slotted into here, as well as your resource tokens that will track your resources, and that'll be basically how you track through this game system over here. And this, what you're seeing over here, is the deluxe version. Keep that into account, take that into account as well. The retail version of the game will be more cardboard, less miniatures, potentially it'll save you money, but it may or may not even be a thing you prefer as well as saving you money. But that is basically what we have over here for Fractured Skies. This is their Kickstarter version, the deluxe version of the game, and this is what we have here as far as the prototype. I'm not going heavily into all the miniatures, showing you all the stuff, but again, I will show you that tray because I just do think it's cool over here, all the stuff here. And then we have all the rest of it underneath here, which, speaking of which, I'll put this down over here, this down over here. I think this goes that way. And then we're going to put this down on top of that, and then this down on top of that. and finally this down on top of that. And if you are excited about me saying this down on top of that, well, it's very exciting stuff. Which brings us to the last thing. The last thing we have is the Infinity Dungeon. The Infinity Dungeon, this is a very cool thing, and there's like 7 versions of this or more. I don't know exactly how many there are, but there's a bunch of them. But this is an Infinity Dungeon scroll, which is basically meant for RPG stuff. Why am I talking about it if I'm not an RPG player? Well, first of all, maybe one day I'll become an RPG player. That's a different conversation, though. But personally and selfishly, I think my kids will love this. I think I hand them a bunch of miniatures and this map, and they will have fun from today until tomorrow, and save me all the setting up of maps and tiles, because this over here is a dungeon that just keeps scrolling. So you can just play an RPG, and you have a dungeon that will just keep scrolling along with the players. You keep moving along the board, and it just moves along with you. You just continue to move as you need to. You head through the square, you deal with you circle the fountain of healing and whatnot, and then you wander into a room. And they have, this is from Yarrow Studios, I believe, and they are Tanner, I can't remember the name. I'll have links to everything down below. But this over here just gives you a fully infinitely scrolling dungeon where you just start going on a journey, and it's just, again, we're in the castle now. We're in the castle. We crossed the moat. You can basically build your story around whatever kind of 3D, not 3D, I don't know why I said 3D, whatever terrain you have in this dungeon that is way too long. That's what this is over here. It's just a dungeon that will just not keep scrolling, or won't stop scrolling. Let's go ahead and go the other way. So if we go the other way, so again, you've seen some of the stuff already because we've already been through the square, but we can go ahead and let's go back to the other side of the thing over here, see what else we got. And the nice thing is it does kind of, here, let's go ahead and show this way. So here we go. Now we're wandering the other way. Give me a second to just, there we go. It does drop into place as far as, straightening if you need to. But over here we have our other areas. Oh, is this a ship? It's not a ship, it's a new section of town. It's a new section of town that looks a little like a ship, but more like a marketplace. So you have your marketplace over here, and again, you can keep going over here, but I think by now you get the idea. So we're going to go ahead and roll this up, drop this scroll in place. You can get a degree of tidiness or not. You can get it bound, put it in a little whatever. But they have a bunch of these. I don't know, they have like maybe 10 or so of these that I saw online. They look very cool, and they give you a degree of, well, 3D, not 3D, stop saying 3D, Alex. They give you scrolling terrain that gives you variety and a whole, like, this is probably, I'm trying to remember how long it is. I fully unrolled it. I'd guess it's around 15 to 20 feet long as far as just how much dungeon there is, and you can show it in whatever manageable sections you want at a time. And that's what we have over here. We have a few different things. We have the various Frosthaven, Gloomhaven playmats. We have Fractured Sky, Lost in Zoroark insert, Power Plants the game, and then this Infinity Dungeon, and that is what we have for our deluxeifications and upgrades video. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found something that was intriguing or not, and until next time, I hope you have a good one.